Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Backlot Banter. I'm Tucker, joined by my mustachioed co-host Tanner Dykstra, and we're here today, finally, ladies and gentlemen, to talk about the summer blockbuster event return to cinema, long anticipated, much wanted to see film F9: The Fast Saga.
Yes.
And we watched it last night, but we're big fans of Fast and Furious. We're also going to be doing a ranking of this. But if you want to talk to us about Fast and Furious, join the Discord. Join our
Mhm.
Discord, please. Link in the description. If you want to nerd about these movies, go ahead. I would love to. I would love nothing more. But here's our review of F9: The Fast Saga.
Yeah.
Tanner Dykstra coming out of that theater, basking in the orgasmic afterglow of Fast and Furious. What are your thoughts on F9: The Fast Saga?
I liked it. F9 The Fast Saga is just a crazy ramping up considering we have two more movies left until it ends.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't honestly know where they're going to go from here because this is like I thought 10 was going to be like the Infinity War of the Fast Saga, bringing characters together and really ramping up what the fans wanted. But spoilers, they went to space in this one. They got the crew from Tokyo Drift in this one. I honestly don't know. I mean, obviously there's some places you can go in terms of bringing people in and bringing people back, but yeah, it's just crazy to think that we're nearing the end. We know where we started and where we're ending. But I very much enjoyed my time in F9.
I love this movie to an ungodly degree. I
Yeah.
genuinely think this is one of the best theater experiences I've ever had in terms of me not being a fan 3 months ago and ramping up my interest in the series constantly, watching
Hmm.
8 the day before, watching 9 now, watched Hobbs and Shaw just a few minutes ago.
Hmm.
I'm so engaged by this franchise and just how ludicrous it's become. And I think that is
Ludicrous.
great. I think that's
Woo!
why F9 works so well. Is they've established a set of rules in it that are fucking ridiculous, and if you break them down, you're like, this is stupid. It doesn't obey the laws of
Mm.
physics. The characters like do things that don't make any sense, but it's consistent. And in that consistency, they're able to just go balls to the wall crazy. And this
Mm.
movie is kind of the culmination of all of that. You got
Yeah.
your action set pieces. You got constant returns of characters and references to older movies. You got like rewriting of timelines and retcons and characters referencing one
Hmm.
another and lots of, especially for Dom, like character development history that
Hmm.
other movies didn't really have. And that's why it's one of my favorites of the series. I think it does almost everything that the series does best at some of its best. I think it's
Sure.
got one of the best character dynamics. It's got a really large cast, but everyone has something to do. And like there's
Yeah.
not characters that feel too superfluous considering everyone has a role in the story. You got the return of Han, you got the return of Mia in a meaningful capacity, the
Yeah.
introduction of Jacob, the introduction of Elle. I think this movie really did the most. And it's one of my, not only one of my favorite Fast and Furious movies, but I ended up putting it on my one of my favorite movies of all time list
Wow.
because
Wow.
I I just genuinely think I couldn't have thought of a better way for them just to completely go all in, and I
Yeah.
think it works
Well,
the best
that's what
because
I'm
of that.
saying is that they're going all in, and we have two
Yes,
more movies left.
exactly, and that's what makes those next two so fascinating. We know
Yes.
nothing about them
Absolutely
except
not. That
one thing.
Charlie's Theron.
No, I was going to say Cardi B is in
Oh,
those
okay.
movies because if you look at the letterbox list for 10 of the cast,
Hmm.
only people confirmed are Vin Diesel, Tyrese, and Cardi B, which is
Well,
fucking weird. That was one of the weaker points of this movie. Now, I'm not saying this is a perfect movie. I think
yeah.
it does the things that Fast and the Furious, which are dumb things, I think it does
Hmm.
them best. That doesn't mean there isn't really weird writing moments, an extended Star Wars metaphor that just sucks. Charlize Theron's character Cypher, just terrible writing on the
Yeah.
whole. Uh,
Yeah, they put her in a Magneto box for most
they
of this
did.
movie
They certainly did.
until it's time for her to become the villain again.
The even villainy or villain.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
But Jocker, I do think we should delve into a bit of the actual specific content of this
Sure,
movie.
sure, sure.
If we can start off on a negative foot, I don't
That's
exactly
fine.
like how this movie started. To be
Okay,
honest with you,
sure.
it was a
Starting in a
very quick.
flashback.
It was not excluding that. I meant like the actual plot of this.
Okay.
It felt very like, and we're going. Okay, we're off and we're running.
Yeah.
It felt very disjointed as to like we were 15 minutes in and we got the bridge jump thing.
Sure.
And
Good point.
it just felt a little weird pacing wise because I was like, okay, we're jumping a giant gap. We're hooking a rope onto a wheel and catapulting ourselves across a giant ravine. And like 15 minutes ago, we were like having quiet time on the farm with the
Sure.
Torettos.
Yeah.
That pacing felt weird to me.
No,
But
and I actually do think you're right about that. One thing that has become a just staple of the Fast and Furious movies is, you end it with a barbecue, and
yeah,
everyone's like, "I'm out of the game. We're not doing
yeah,
this anymore." And then
yes,
it's just inevitable that they come back. And honestly, while that I would say is a criticism, it has become so normalized. I don't really consider it to be a huge negative.
yeah,
Although I think it's because they have that initial downtime where Dom is hesitant to return to the game is
hmm
why that action sequence feels so weird, because it's not like it's uncommon for these movies to start off with an insane action set
Well,
piece.
that's what I think they should have opened with that action set piece, I
Sure,
think.
yeah,
And maybe like Dom and Letty weren't there and they're like, "Oh, we maybe they fail a little bit." And they're like, "Okay, we got to get Dom and Letty."
you're right. That would have been honestly a good idea. Yeah,
Yes.
because one of the more interesting aspects of this film, a little bit held back by the fact that Vin Diesel is a fucking brick, is Dom's character and
Yep.
getting not historical, but character history development in terms of his family and how he grew up and met the people that he knew and became the
Mhm.
man that he is, and how racing became important to him, and his meaning of family being not just blood family but extended, and then also blood family and his
Mhm.
son, and like I think this is one of the better movies of Dom's character, even though it doesn't necessarily get the most out of Vin Diesel because he
No.
just sits there with his fucking butthole mouth puckered up and his fucking fat
Yeah.
eyebrows and stuff. This goddamn guy,
Yeah.
he's hamming it up, and it it works because we know to expect that from him.
Yeah.
But I think underneath that is actually some of the best character development for Dom that we've gotten.
Sure. I did kind of like the 1989 flashbacks
Yeah, so
starring
did
Vin
I.
Diesel's son as Dom Toretto.
So it's not that Dom version of Dom. It's like the mid young Dom, like the slightly older young Dom is his
Mhm.
son. The young Dom, the main young Dom, is not related. Uh, one of the
Huh?
actors that plays a younger version of Dom is his son.
Like 1989, like pretty much adult Don, the one that
No,
goes to
no,
jail in the movie.
no,
That's
I
his
want a
son.
little bit older version of Dom. Different flashback. I don't quite remember, but I like looked
Oh,
this up and
okay,
got a little bit of context for it. It's very strange, but I
okay.
actually did like that. It's kind of the Uncharted 3 of this series,
Ah,
explaining the introduction of his character way into the series.
yeah. Should we talk about? I feel like we should talk about some La Familia characters in this.
Great,
We
great.
talked about Dom. Letty is we do get a bit of a girls' adventure in this. The ladies of Fast and Furious
Yeah.
team up to go to Tokyo and find Han. That
Hmm.
was pretty good because we get a solid conversation between Mia and Letty. That's like Mia's like I left the game and it was nice. We settled down and Brian's watching the kids and Letty's like, that's just not who I am. I got to stay in the game, baby. Yeah, and I just thought that the ladies of Fast and Furious had a good moment there because previously they might not have gotten as much screen time in
Yeah.
previous movies. And of course, talking about La Familia members, Han, he's
Han
back,
is
baby.
back. He is
Justice is
back.
coming. Justice for Han. We don't really get justice for Han, but we get a tease of it in the mid credit scene.
Yeah, and I think his return is handled pretty well. I think those reunions between the characters are great. We not only get uh Tej and Roman and Dom
hmm
reacting to his return, and Letty seeing him for the first time, and Ramsey being like, who the hell's
Who
this?
are you?
Uh, but we also get uh of course Sean Boswell,
Oh
the
yes,
return of Sean Boswell, way older than he should be
and
canonically,
fucking
and
little
Twinkie,
and little
and
Bow Wow.
yeah, Twinkie's character, or Lil Bow Wow's character, Twinkie.
Yeah,
I loved that they were included, but what I was getting at is I liked that they also had a reunion moment where I
yeah,
was like, holy
yeah.
shit, yes, we're turning Tokyo Drift. So here's the thing with those characters being in
hmm
it. I was so let down by Sean Boswell returning for a split fucking second in 7. I thought that was a terrible underutilization of the character and just felt like
oh yeah, that fantastic character, Sean
yeah,
Boswell.
but I think
Underutilized him.
if he was involved a little more, he could be more interesting. And I think this is it. I think this is the perfect role to sort of slot him into is a even more supporting character, but he plays a relatively meaningful role in the progression of the plot. I think the fact that him and his friends have become rocket engineers is a great evolution of them.
Why? Who's to say?
I don't care.
That wasn't hinted at in any of in 3 at all. And they're like,
Yeah.
I think that was just like, okay, so we need a way to go to space and we need a way to bring these characters back. Let's just smash those reasons together.
100%. But I honestly don't think it matters because if you just look at Lucas Black just smiling as the day is long,
yes,
he's just loving being back.
He's supposed to be like 25 or something at this point, and he's very clearly like 45.
Yeah, that part didn't work, but honestly, I don't really care about that.
Fair enough. Yeah, he already looked old, even though when Tokyo Drift came out, he was only like 23, even though he looks way older than that. But whatever.
Yeah, and then they fucked with the timeline quite a bit.
Yeah.
So, one thing that you were mentioning with Letty, I actually think this is one of Michelle Rodriguez's best performances in the series. I mean, I don't think she's an incredible actress, but I do think that she got a lot out of the character of Letty in this. Of course, she had her moments in 6 and in what was she in 4 before the one she died in? Yes. Like those moments were good, but I think this, along with the crew, she's sort of back into her role, and I think she did really well. Tej and Roman both actually have like really solid moments in this. Roman sort of commenting on him.
Well, yeah, I wanted to talk about that. How do you feel about them like getting self-aware about like, hey, we never get hurt or whatever?
I think that's,
how do you feel about that?
I think that's fun because it's an even more meta commentary on how ridiculous this is, and it kind of gives an interesting spin to Roman's character, like introspective about how ridiculous it is. I mean, he's always been sort of the guy who's like hesitant to hop into things and like goes through the most dangerous shit, which he does in this movie. And him finally like having an action moment where he's really competent, shooting like 14 guys with an AK. Yeah. That was awesome. And then Tej also has some of his own moments. I think they were both handled really well. I think I'm just really glad that the cast was fully back, really well balanced in this one. And the group dynamic is one of my favorite aspects of this series. Yeah. And this was an awesome version of that.
We'll get into this in our ranking because I kind of realized why I'm not as high on some of these ones like post 7. And I think it's because I really view Paul Walker as the heart of the franchise.
Sure. Yeah.
Because I realized this while I was watching 9. I was like, when the group's all together, I'm like, it feels like there's someone missing. I'm like, it's Paul Walker.
Yeah.
I didn't really put that together until 9 because I'm like, in 8, Vin is Dom is like is an antagonist to the crew, but they're all together here, and I'm like, it still feels like someone missing. So yeah. I really view Paul Walker as the heart of the franchise. Like I said, we'll get into that in our overall ranking, which will include 9. That'll be going up tomorrow, I believe, God willing. But Tucker, there's a few new additions that we need to talk about.
Yes, there are.
One, Mr. Jonathan Cena as Jacob Toretto. Now, Tucker, I feel, speaking of underutilized, I feel like they didn't really use John Cena as much as they could in this, especially in an action capacity. Yeah, I mean, sure. his climactic like battle with Dom is maybe only like a minute long.
Sure, I think he's honestly considering how large of a cast there is here. I think he gets quite a bit of screen time, and also just his character being like a conflict with family and allowing Dom to think that they killed his dad and stuff. I think that's an interesting enough character. Like that's a more in-depth character than most of the characters that we have in this series. And I think he could have had more to do with them, like work alongside them nearing the end. And he kind of left really quickly, which was a little bit weird.
at the very end, when they say there's one empty seat left, and I
Yeah.
didn't know that they was going to hint that Brian is still around, and he drives up. I thought it was going to be John Cena that comes and takes that
No,
seat.
that would have been a great moment,
I
honestly.
mean, I obviously he's going to come back in the last two installments,
Yeah.
but
But I think that it worked really well, considering he does have a fun role to play in terms of
mhm.
being secretly related. Like this is a really big retcon that there was another brother and like all that. But
Yes,
I don't even really care at this point. I think it provides for an interesting character dynamic between the two of them because they have a lot more history than anyone we've seen, and it allows Mia to be back, which I like Mia.
yeah,
I think she's an interesting foil to Vin Diesel. So having her back is
hmm
also good. But he also just has some awesome action. Him
yeah.
Spider-Maning along the thing, his action driving the cars, teaming up with Dom. I think that
hmm
all worked really well. And while he certainly could have had more screen time, more cooperation near the end, I think he's one of the better introductions of a character in this
Sure.
series.
Speaking of action sequences, Tucker, there's a large element of the action sequences that we haven't talked about, and that's magnets,
Magnets.
baby. Fucking magnets. Boy, oh boy, there's a lot of magnet play in this movie.
There certainly is.
It's magnets in outer space is how I would define the action sequences of this.
Mm-hmm.
It is kind of funny that they went with like I don't know magnets for the action in this.
Yeah.
That's just very funny. But they do some cool stuff with it. They slam cars together and pushing them away and using debris to like smash cars and stuff.
Yeah.
Uh, but I feel like we've hardly talked about the fact that they go to outer space in this.
They do.
That that is the B plot of the final action sequence, and it's just so funny because I turned to you and I said this because it really is a testament to that on Earth action sequence as well, that it's very captivating. So when it cuts back to Tej and Roman, like, oh
Yep.
yeah, they are
Yeah.
literally in space.
It keeps you really like excited throughout. Like, of course, okay,
Mhm.
we're like, holy shit, they finally made the space. This is crazy. And then they leave it just long enough to like you're getting into this action, and then they can bring it right back up. No, holy shit, they are in space, and it's a
Yeah.
really good build up, and both plots are equally awesome.
Mhm.
I really like the magnet stuff. I thought that was some of the most creative, like large scale choreography. Of course, it's not as much of a set piece as we've gotten the plane
Mhm.
in 6 or the submarine in 8.
Yeah.
But I think just from a choreography standpoint and shit just happening, like it's constant. Whoa, I can't, I don't even know how they made this moments.
Mhm.
We get like a sort of remix of the zombie cars, with cars
Yes.
being pulled towards. We got the truck flipping, which of course you saw in the trailers.
Yes.
You get John Cena's car pulled into a truck through a building. There's a lot of really cool moments that they really use creatively in the
Mhm.
choreography with these magnets, and I was just having a grand old time with those.
Absolutely. It is a movie that you just have a grand old time in.
100%.
Because if you think too much about stuff, like we kind of paved over the Han returning, but that that is very convoluted how they explain that.
Sure, yeah.
He's like, and I
It's
work
a
for Mr.
Saw
Nobody.
moment for the Fast and Furious series.
Yeah, absolutely it is.
Another fight sequence that we didn't really talk about is Dom fighting approximately 40,000 guys
Oh
in
yeah.
basically like
Just
a nuclear
ah!
tunnel or something,
Yeah.
and they're kicking him, he's down, but he doesn't give a shit, and he keeps getting back up, and he breaks guys back over a fucking banister. Like,
There's a top-down shot where Vin Diesel is holding back like a dozen guys with just his arms, and it's just incredible. And it's really what we get when The Rock is in it. It's just Vin Diesel's
sure.
unadulterated ego
Yeah,
for
I
his
mean,
strength in
and
this.
if I were to say, I know this is such a huge cast, but I think the entire absence of Hobbs felt a little bit strange to me.
Yeah.
Considering how integral he was to the second half of this series
Mhm.
and had his own spinoff movie most recently.
Yeah.
But outside of that, he's one of the only characters that's missing. I mean, Declan
Yeah.
Shaw ends up showing back up in the post credits, but we get involvement of Mr. Nobody, of Cypher, of Queenie, of the guy whose nose got broken in 4 and
Yeah.
6. Like they are always bringing back these characters, which I think works really well for this franchise, reminding you this is all one giant series. They're all super connected. Characters
Mhm.
can pop back up whenever, and I think
Even
just even
even
though
if they die, they can come back.
true, exactly. Yeah, but I think even though it's ridiculous and it's fan service, I think it's one of the aspects of this series that allows you to want to stay engaged with everything
Yeah,
and
I agree.
rewatch movies and recontextualize things, much like the Saw movies. Everything feels super connected, and it makes me appreciate those older movies more, even if I didn't enjoy them as much when I watched them the
Hmm.
first time.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we didn't really talk about the thing, but Cardi B is not a good actress.
No.
I
Oh
mean,
God.
they have to do their like celebrity cameos in the Fast and Furious movies. We got Iggy Azalea in 7, and I don't know if they really did one in 8. I'm sure they did, and I'm forgetting it. But yeah, we got Cardi B in this one, and she's returning in 10. So, but no,
What
she's
a
not a
terrible
she is not a good actress. Dear Lord.
that I mean that rescue of Dom could have been anyone,
Yeah,
but they just created this entirely other character for her to play for like 45 seconds, and she just shat on the screen. Like her delivery is terrible. She's like
yes,
barely playing the character that like
it's
she
the
looks
line
like.
delivery. The
Yeah.
line delivery is very stilted.
Oh, oh
Yeah.
my God, that was bad.
But I don't want to end on a negative note. So Tucker, is there anything else that you liked about F9, the Fast Saga?
I just I just gotta say I think this is, at least in my eyes, one of the peaks of the series. I think that it does everything that I want out of it incredibly well. It gets me insanely excited for the future of the series, and it just reminds me of why we're going to movies in the first place. It's movie magic to me, and it
Yeah,
was a perfect
Vin
movie to
Diesel
return to the theaters with.
Vin Diesel said this before every single when a lot of theaters across the country were doing the ramp up and showing all the different movies. Vin Diesel reminded us multiple times, movies. We're back at the movies.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
we are, Vin, and thank you for bringing us here. Thank you so much.
Vin, you might be a terrible actor, but you made some movies that I just fucking love.
Yeah,
So
and
it balances out.
he cares about this franchise so goddamn much. And I think I go back and forth between they're trying very earnestly to ramp stuff up, or they're very self-aware of what they're doing. I go back and forth, but what permeates through all of that is that Vin Diesel fucking loves making these movies.
He really does. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we'll see how that love continues in the future, because we've got two more main installments,
Mm-hmm.
probably some spin-offs as well, now that they've introduced the
Probably
concept of spin-offs.
probably another Hobbs and Shaw or something of
Yeah,
that nature.
we
Yeah.
just finishing that up. Very much room for a
Yeah.
sequel there. In
So
fact, some setup for. Um, but yeah, I can't wait, and I especially can't wait for tomorrow's review of all of the movies. I've begun to
absolutely.
do a little bit of recap research about which action sequences happened in which ones, so I can
Hmm.
remember a little bit and we can talk about it. I can't wait. But thank you
Yeah.
for watching, everyone, and we will see you guys
And
tomorrow.
Fast 10, your seatbelts.
Yeah. Uh, I don't think it's too much of a meme. I don't think they're really
No,
going to
that
use that in the
they
marketing.
absolutely will not do that.